All right, next step is to cut a 1/4 inch groove out of these timbers to receive this wing. Okay, and it's 10 inches from here to here, so that's how deep I want to go. And I've got to cut through the entire timber, which is going to involve several setups. But I did try it on the bandsaw. I have a bandsaw over here, but I broke the blade because I don't have a rip blade. Well, it's broken now, but I don't have a rip blade on it, and I tried backing up, it broke the blade. So we'll go to plan B, which is my Makita saw with a rip guide on it. And what I'm doing is cutting these are 4 1/4, so I need to cut a 1/4 inch in the center. So I'm cutting a 2 inches from the edge to my first rip. And then I'll move my guide over to cut a 1/4 inch, or maybe in 5/16, and so that'll slide in easily. And then I'll have to flip them over and do the same thing on the other side, lining everything up, which might be a little bit tricky because this is rough sawn white oak, and it's not perfect. Okay, so I'll have to do a little hand chiseling, I'm sure. But all I'm doing is I got my 10-inch line marked right here, and I'll just cut it to that 10-inch line. Okay. Now my next step is to move this guide to where he's going to cut a 1/4 inch sliver out of here, and then I got to flip it over and repeat. So I'll just film some of that as I go, but that's the idea. All right, so I've got my 2 cuts on this side. If you flip it over, I've got 2 cuts here, and now I've got a little section from here to here that needs to get cut out, and I've already started with the handsaw here, but now it's just a bunch of grunt work because my saw blade wasn't deep enough to get all the way through, but that's okay. We'll cut that with a handsaw. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp it to my table saw so it won't move. And I've got a rip saw. And what you're going to do is you're going to join the 2 rips. Okay, you get the idea. I've got to remove this center piece of wood, and once I get the saw cut all the way down on both sides, then I'm going to have to drill that out and take a chisel to it. So I'll start back when that happens. All right, just a side note, if you get tired of using the handsaw to cut this right here, you can always use a Sawzall with a big blade on it. It's a whole lot quicker, especially in this oak. Okay, but anyway, so handsaw or that, either one works. Next thing we have to do though is this little sliver right here needs to come out. And here's my line right here. What I do is I just drill a hole. And in order to get this off, I need to cut it 6 inches all the way through. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is got a 1/4 inch chisel, and I'll literally just take a hammer and a chisel and hog it out until this piece comes out. All right, well that's the next step, and when I get that done, I'll show you the step after that. All right, now that I got the grooves cut, I can go ahead and install my brackets. And just so you understand what I'm doing here, I'm making this part right here. Okay, this is my center line. This is going to be my platform up here, which is the treehouse is going to be built off of this. But right now, I'm making this part right here. And this is a 45-degree angle right here. And what I did to know how long to make my beams, I just scaled it like a 1 inch equals a foot. Okay, so my platform is going to be 10 inches or 10 feet or 10 feet wide. Okay, and then I just measured down at 45 degrees how long those beams needed to be, and I got 5 feet 6 inches. Okay, so that's what I cut these guys at. So that's what we're doing here. So if you were confused at this point, this is what I'm getting at. Okay, so what I want to do is I've already done one here. Now, the wood I'm using is actually 6 1/4 inches thick instead of 5 1/2 like you would find at the lumber yard. So these bolts are just a little bit short, so that's why I had to recess this hole right here. That way that I can get the bolt all the way through. But this is pretty simple. Okay, so this guy is going to be going into this, but I've got, it's a lot easier, just take the spare one, slide it into your slot, make sure it's going to fit okay, it's going to seat correctly, and then put it on the top, and we're going to center it up. And this doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to have a little bit of wiggle room. But we're going to get it pretty close just by eyeing it. Okay, it looks pretty close. I'm just going to take a pencil and mark that hole. And these are identical. Okay, so the holes should match up. All right, so leave that there. Now I want to drill my large hole first, but I want to find the center. Just mark the center so that the drill bit has something to grab onto. It's got a much more narrow tip on it. And I'm going to drill it it should line up. Just a matter of, there's one I grab another bolt. Okay, and just a matter of putting your washers on, putting your lock washers on, and then tightening it down. Now, I'm not gonna, when I tighten this down, I'm just gonna snug it because, again, I want to be able to maneuver this just a little bit when I have to cut a notch into the crossbeam, and I want to be able to maneuver just a little bit if I have to. So I'm not going to go crazy tightening these down just yet. But that's it. Once I get one of them, when I get them both together, I'll show you what they look like as a, like a big V. So, okay. I'll be back in a second.